It is Christmas yet again, and I like to make these Christmas videos. Something about these shitty low-budget games to celebrate the holiday season have an incredible charm to them. As you've read by the title, I have 5 more games this year. The last 2 years I've reviewed some retro PC games, but I seem to have run out of games to discuss that haven't already been covered before. So I'm going on to a different platform, the Game Boy Advance. I'll be reviewing pretty much every GBA Christmas game. These are all low budget, but who knows? There could be some hidden gems here, and at least some that are ironically good. Without further ado, let's kick this off with Elf. Based on the Will Ferrell classic, this game features a variety of minigame type things and hyper-compressed William. Like a lot of movie tie-in games, you get a crunchy-ass screenshot between levels that explain the entire plot. The first thing I noticed about this game is the clashing of art styles. You got untextured Buddy the Elf, clip art looking snowy mountains in the background, slightly more detailed trees and ground art, and this shitty CGI polar bear walking. I don't really have to say it, but this is a piss-easy kids game. There are 17 different stages and it takes like an hour to beat. So let me just run through everything this game has to offer. After a few levels, it switches to this top-down platformer. This was easily the most difficult stage on Elf for Game Boy Advance. The collision on the smaller platforms is jank, so I often fell into the ice by mistake. I probably spent like 10 minutes trying this and had no fun. Really, none of this game is fun, but I played all these in a call with some friends, so they're great for ironic enjoyment. In fact, I made sure to run through all of these games today with some fellas, cause let me tell you, playing shovelware without someone to make fun of it with is depressing as hell. If you haven't tried it yet, pick out a shovelware game for like $5 and struggle through the whole thing in one sitting with the fellas. You won't regret it. Anyways, the game then turns into ski free as you arrive in New York in only one downhill slope. We have the return of extreme asset clashes with the backgrounds, floor texture, and photorealistic mallards and raccoons. These platform levels are just so jarring to look at, but that makes it all funnier. Elf GBA is so incredibly cheap, it's an art. Next, it becomes sort of a pseudo-Frogger thing. Collect the lights and don't run out of energy. As you walk down the street, you are slowly losing vitality and your run energy depletes fast as well. Took me a few deaths to realize this, but to replenish these bars you have to reach Mach speed in a revolving door. As soon as you exit this door, a cop materializes and chases after you. In New York, they can't catch you spinning indoors, you'll serve 8 to 10. I guess the Elf devs were running out of ideas, but the next 5 levels alternate between this pipe puzzle and elevators. With the elevator level, it feels like they just had to take an iconic scene from the movie and somehow make a game out of it. Really, the whole game feels like that, just an extremely loose retelling of Elf. So, up next is that part where Buddy has to throw snowballs at children in the park. Except it's total RNG whether the game will even spawn enough enemies to hit. You gotta hit 35 people, and while it's super easy, you just gotta hope by the time the 3 minutes are up there were enough targets. This next minigame is this present delivering thing where the color of the presents line up with the houses. This is probably the easiest game here, I'd say. All these games are super brain dead, but this one is by far the most pointless. Then we have another platformer section, and finally this bell collecting thing with Santa. It brings back the energy mechanic from that street crossing game, and once you beat it, of course, a single congratulations screen and a return to the menu. Surprisingly, the campaign on Elf for GBA lacks substance. Each minigame to complete here has so little challenge or really anything interesting about it. There's nothing cool about the music either, literally just generic Christmas music in a passable sound font. But that's why I love it. It's super short and the whole journey is so low quality and crappy you can't help but laugh. Just about everything sucks, but you can get through it fast and it's not boring or poorly paced. But wait, there's 3 more minigames. Snowman Building, a terrible game of Sokemon I didn't bother to finish. Santa Says, literally just click the pictures in the proper order and you win. No animation, no other levels. This is quite possibly the bare minimum for what can be considered a game. And finally, the shoe game I couldn't figure out. That is the entirety of the Game Boy Advance adaptation of Will Ferrell's Elf 2003. Now, on the complete opposite side of Elf, we have Santa Claus Jr. Advance. Instead of being funny and bad, it's just painfully mediocre and boring. Exclusive to Europe, this platformer has just about nothing interesting going for it. The objective of the game is to explore these open-ish levels and find children scattered about to deliver presents to. You don't have to get every child in the level, in fact, you don't even have to get any, but at the end of each level, Santa will give you a VIG rating based on his thumb. If you speed through the entire stage and deliver all the presents, you'll probably get a thumbs up, but I never bothered to get one. Santa Claus Jr. ain't all bad. I like the graphical style, the pixel art and pastel colors are really nice looking. The stylized angular look and melancholy locations all look pretty good for GBA. The controls are also decent, a little floaty but responsive. So what's the problem with this game? So far it seems like it should be at least fine, right? Well, the level designs are just so painfully boring. There's nothing intuitive here. The most rudimentary obstacles, easily avoidable enemies, and power-ups so scarce you'll forget they exist. The stars you collect allow you to either double jump or regain health, so if you're taking out enemies and collecting these, you can make the levels even easier. This wouldn't be awful if you could beat each world pretty fast, but the pacing here is less than stellar. The idea of exploring each corner of these maps to deliver the presents is good in theory, but they're just too big and uninteresting to warrant doing that. After about an hour of play, I pretty much was forcing myself to power through the rest of it because I was just so terminally bored. In the last couple of worlds, things start to get a little better. Challenges started to exist along with the shift in Christmas wintry themed places to Halloween-esque stuff. I will say, the final boss is cool. You have to take advantage of the star double jump mechanic by killing enemies and saving up points to grab a snowball, then do some platforming to hit this witch. I can say I had fun here, but it wasn't worth enduring 3 hours of boring platforming beforehand. I have so much to complain about here because Santa Claus Jr. is the worst kind of bad. I was expecting at least a mildly fun platformer, or a hilariously broken one, but nope. Got pure mediocrity with nothing to have fun or make fun of. I could see a young kid enjoying this game because it works and it's easy to beat, and playing it today, nostalgia could also help make it more enjoyable, but I'm gonna be honest, I can't recommend this game to anyone for any reason. Skip it. Santa Claus Saves the Earth. This game is more well known on the PS1, to which it has been famously covered by Cat Icarus. I gotta say, his older videos still hold up. Out of the many YouTube reviewers that have been at it for a while, his videos have aged surprisingly well, even back to his 2013 stuff. Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan and I'm nerding out here for no reason, so I guess I'll get back on topic and return to the review. If I could describe this game in one word, it would be surreal. The graphics are cheap, pre-rendered CGI, but they have that weird early 3D aura to them. The music is plain awful, but like the songs aren't just bad, they're downright strange. As if the composers didn't even know how to make music and they just threw random stuff together. Honestly, I was kind of captivated by how strange the music here sounded. I can't say I hate it. That doesn't mean it's in any way good, but it's, well, interesting. The level design is just as bizarre. The obstacle placement seems random, and much of the progression is done underground. But when you go above ground, there's a forest, and if you go even higher, there's pyramids. And that's just one of the levels. There are actually 15, and I have to admit, I didn't play all of them. Only 5. Yeah, I went into this video thinking I'd be beating all these games. I mean, come on, they're all just budget GBA games. But honestly, I was so burned by having to play all of Santa Claus Jr. that I think I can just not do the whole campaign for this game, and no one will care, right? If me not beating Santa Claus Saves the Earth for GBA has harmed your life for the worse and nothing is the same ever again, leave a like and sound off in the comments. So, what made me give up? Well, as I said before, the level design is insane, therefore, rather unplayable. Coupled with the stiff controls and lame attacks, there's just about nothing fun to the gameplay here. The default attack is this bag swing, and it kinda just doesn't work. There's hardly any range and it doesn't always hit. The snowballs are decent, but they run out. Sometimes you'll find tomatoes, not sure why that's a weapon, but they're the best ones here, so I can't complain. There's boss battles that take place in this super weird looking toy room environment. Like the rest of the game, they hardly function. When I beat this jester dude, he just PowerPoint flew out to the top. After each level, there's a password, which is kinda lame because GBA games can easily autosave after each level, but I'm also not gonna complain here because it allows me to skip right to the end of the game and look at the final boss. This is the final boss. None of the projectiles work against her. Cool. Yeah, that's about all I can say about this one. The game is just really bad. Like, seriously, extremely bad. But I find it mildly cool. You can't get too much ironic enjoyment out of it, but I appreciate how weird it is. I can't recommend it that much, even with some friends. Playing this game, we lost interest rather quickly. I love the game over screen.
You did not make it.
Yeah, Santa Claus Saves the Earth is just super lame. I'm sorry. The Polar Express. I enjoy this movie quite a bit, despite the mocap looking kinda strange at times, as the Hot Chocolate song. Oh, that one's a banger. Anyone else ever done those Polar Express themed train rides when you were younger, or is that just an Ohio thing? Anyways, GBA game. Like everything else I've played thus far, it is a platformer. And yes, it follows the events of the movie. Pretty well, actually. I think the cutscenes are basically one-to-one with the dialogue, and because of how little of a plot the original had, it doesn't feel like you're actually missing much. As each significant part of the story happens, you go through a couple levels in that location. The majority of the movie is on a train, so the game is too. I don't want to say it's a puzzle platformer, but it kinda is. The levels aren't that linear, involving different paths and doors. You have to collect 3 bells per stage in order to access the exit, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense since there's only one in the movie. But in order to get to these bells, you gotta complete small tasks like figuring out how to get doors open or how to reach certain areas. It's not bad, but that's about all there is. Not much to it. I had a little fun. It sure is a video game, but that's about the extent of what you can say, I guess. There's something here, it's just very simple. The standard platformer gameplay is broken up by a variety of auto-scrolling levels, like the part with the skiing hobo ghost, several sprite scaling train segments, the part where the children go in the present tubes, and the part with the present slide thing. I like the train parts because they look cool and run well, but the tube part kinda sucks because the input's delayed and the direction you're supposed to go in only becomes visible until it's too late. But otherwise, I think these levels were probably my favorite part of the game because they showed some ambition from the developers. GBA 3D is underutilized and it's nice to see games pull it off well. Oh yeah, at the very end there's this Zeppelin level, it's alright. Press A a whole bunch to keep it afloat. The rest of the movie is abridged in cutscenes and then the whole thing's over. This game's fine, I guess. I have played much worse, and it does some cool things at times. It's completely inoffensive, but it doesn't bring anything super interesting to the table. This is one of those games where I'm completely neutral on the recommendation. If you see this at a game store for only a few bucks and hit them with the old, why not? I can't say you'll be disappointed, but you pretty much get what you pay for here. Last game for today is the Santa Claus 3 The Escape Clause. Yes, 3 of the 5 games today are based off of movies, but you know, those are the ones that sell, so it is what it is. I've seen the original Santa Claus, but not any of the sequels, and I've heard just awful things about this third one. Like any good GBA movie game should, you get those low-res screenshots, and it loosely explains the story in text. Except the sentences are just randomly broken up between A-presses. This leads to some really funny lines if your humor is as broken as mine.
Scott Calvin was that worthy soul. Only he. Well, Bud and Sylvia are here. Until further notice, we are a Canadian. But while I'm waiting, let's cool. Well, this is just great. It's the poll? Jack Frost. The.
Amazing. Okay, the game itself. A platformer. Who would have guessed? Oh boy, it goes for that pre-rendered look. Everything being pixelated CGI stuff. I don't have much to say about the graphics here. I mean, they look fine. Controls are the same. Fine. As Santa, you get a double jump and glide, but look, the knockback from taking a hit is insane. So it seems like it's going to be another mediocre time. But the thing this game does right is the levels are significantly shorter. The majority of the game is still piss easy, but it's not a drag and it won't be long until you get to see another sweet cutscene. Near the end of the game, the levels can start to become a lot more interesting and even a bit of a challenge if you go for all the cookies. This game is not without dumb BS though. Early on, there's this jump you seemingly can't make. It's solved by a simple jump after glide, but you wouldn't know that because the timing is super tight. So I attempted to jump after a glide, thought it wasn't a move, and didn't bother to try it again until I was really running out of options. At the end of each world, there's like this elf puzzle that ends as soon as you take a hit, and a Christmas present delivery game. Damn, the music's pretty good for this level. In fact, the whole game has a good soundtrack. That's the thing about these low-budget games. Sometimes they hire a composer who just likes to make music, and the most unassuming shovelware can get some genuine bangers. Take a listen real quick. Fun thing about this game is trying to figure out the story of the movie through the loose retelling. That is, if you haven't seen it, like me. That Jack Frost guy from the beginning is the villain, and he screws up a bunch of shit in the North Pole. Then I guess he goes back in time and sends Santa to the Shadow Realm, undoing all the years Scott was Santa Claus, and takes the coat for himself. Then for the rest of the game, it's just a straight up Tim Allen December platformer. But you do the present game at the end of the world, and I assume this breaks the continuity of the movie, but I wouldn't know. You still collect giant floating milk and cookies throughout the regular world as regular Scott. So I guess Jack Frost turns the North Pole into this tourist trap place, and the elves are trying to sell you crap. There's cops everywhere, and if you merely touch them, you'll morph into an ice pillar. I hope that happens in the movie. I'd love to see it. So at the end, Jack Frost tells you to chill out and enjoy the swag, and then he tries to kill you. Tim wins, goes back in time, reverses everything Jack Frost does, and the game ends. The Santa Claus 3, the escape clause for the Game Boy Advance, is the Sonic CD of the Megami Tensei franchise. Well, that's another Amiiben Christmas special for the books. But don't go just yet, I have something very special to announce this holiday season. Introducing the official Amiiben Etsy page. Please stick around for this ad, I've worked pretty hard on all this. Here you'll find an assortment of awesome Amiiben goods handmade by me in my bedroom. I've been very excited to get this thing launched, and I can't wait to show you what I have in store. So, here's what's in store. Do you like discs? Do you like videos? Perhaps even cases? Well, I got just the thing, Blu-rays. Here are the Amiiben Season 1 and 2 Blu-rays. These were an absolute blast to make and are an absolute blast to own. You get to own my videos physically on a cool looking disc, a super nice box, and sweet menus. On top of that, there's exclusive bonus features, including a retrospective on each video, keying you into the process and history behind the creation of my videos. Perfect if you want some tips for your own YouTube channel, or just want to know what it's like to make an Amiiben episode. The Season 2 Blu-ray is a 3-disc box set that comes with the elusive bonus disc. This is jam-packed with a bunch of cool stuff, like said retrospective, cut footage, shitpost, films, fan arts, and much more. The Season 2 set will be $30, and the Season 1 set will be $25. These are a great, collectible, fun, and entertaining way to support me and the Amiiben channel. That's not all though, remember the Amiiben's Jams cassette tapes I gave away when I hit 100 subscribers? Probably not, but I'm going to be selling those along with a brand new Volume 2 tape. The Volume 1 tape has the wacky assortment of strange background music I used in my first couple of videos, but the Volume 2 tape is really something special. This is a mixtape of some of my favorite obscure video game songs, and I really worked on getting that flow nice and picking the absolute most perfect tracks. The artwork was done by Rowe Reviews, and it looks phenomenal. On top of that, these come in a sexy pink cassette tape. You just gotta pick this one up. But if you don't have a cassette player, we also have them on CD. And finally, I have brand new shirt designs available done by the awesome Aback. These designs are pretty fly and guaranteed to get you a girlfriend or boyfriend. All of these things will be up for pre-order until the end of the year. They won't make it in time for Christmas, but you should definitely use your holiday cash to grab these. One final thing for the super fans, if you pre-order both Blu-rays and the tapes, you'll get a mystery bonus. What is it? Who knows? It could be a video game, it could be some sodas, it could be anything. But if you're a really dedicated fan and just that passionate about the Amiiben channel that you'll buy 2 Blu-rays and 2 cassette tapes and or CDs, you'll get a little special something from me just to say thanks for sticking around and supporting the channel. So please, check out the Etsy page and pick out some awesome handmade goods. I'd like to thank each and every one of you watching this video for another year of Amiiben. This is genuinely the best thing in my life, and I love that you guys are enjoying these videos. Next up is going to be Cheapest Game on Every Console, Part 3, featuring a certain licensed game aficionado. Merry all of the holidays and a Happy New Year. Here's to 2022, baby. I'm Amiiben, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Elf Bowling 1 and 2. You press A.